In this video, I want to go over a simple yet highly effective conversion rate principle that can help convert more of your website traffic and lower your cost to acquire a customer, and that is comparison. My name is Jordan Hayes. I own a company that helps e-commerce brands scale their revenue past $500,000 per month through ad creative, paid ads, and conversion rate optimization. So, first of all, when a potential customer comes to your website and starts reading through the content on your website, one of the things that's going through their mind is, how is this product better than the other options I have? And what we want to do is we want to answer that question for them on the website itself. And we want to make it as easy as possible for someone to be able to compare our product against other options. And there's really three ways that you can do this, right? First of all, you can use a comparison table. Second of all, you can use a video to explain the differences between your product and other options. Or you could also use an image to explain the differences between your product and other options. Now, one thing to note is that comparison is not the same as before and after, right? There can be some crossover between comparison and before and after, but they're not the same thing. At least what I like to do is I like to separate comparison and before and after into separate elements on the page. And what I can do is I can create a separate video going over before and after and show how that's different. So with that said, let's go through each of the three ways that we can do comparison. So, number one, comparison tables, my personal favorite. It's very, very simple. Comparison tables are easy to digest. It's not foreign to the customer. They've likely seen a comparison table before. It's easy to read, right? It attracts the eye. So that's why it's my personal favorite. It just works. And I want to show you some examples for each of these options. But let's just go through some examples for the comparison table right now. So one of my favorite websites is Magic Spoon. They have great branding. This is their comparison table on the product page. And you can get creative with the headlines of this section, right? How do we stack up against the classics? Right? Magic Spoon, if you don't know, they make cereal that tastes really good, but it has no sugar and it's high protein. That's basically it. And it has this very fun branding. They're playing on the childhood nostalgia. And this, the comparison table is this. They're comparing their product to other brands, right? So they have Fruit Loops, Reese's Puffs, Frosted Flakes, Cocoa Puffs, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Blueberry. Now, you can see protein, their carbs, these are the things they're comparing themselves against. And they're pulling the facts, right? Now, one thing to note is when you're comparing it against other brands, right, these are actually other brands, you can make direct, factual claims, right? Like, this is how much protein is in Fruit Loops, right? That's a factual claim. You can't make non-factual claims against other brands, right? And I would always, if you're gonna go after other brands and compare yourself directly to other brands, I would always consult a lawyer just to make sure you're not overstepping any boundaries. Doing so could get you in a lot of trouble. So it's really important to do that first. This is just one option, right, to compare yourself to direct other brands. And obviously that's very, very powerful. If your existing customers are eating or consuming these products from these brands, it's really, really powerful. So as you can see, they have some numbers, and they also have grain-free and gluten-free, which is thumbs up, thumbs down. Very, very simple. It's not even like yes and no, it's thumbs up, thumbs down. So this is just one example, and then they have some serving sizes, right, just to have that in there as well. If you look at Caraway, this is another example. This is another one of it's probably my favorite comparison table for the design. A little bit more information, but you can see here that Caraway make pots and pans that are ceramic. Ceramic pots and pans, Teflon free, non-stick. Is really what they do. So it's a very premium product. And this is how they're comparing. So that they have a how we compare headline, and they're comparing themselves on non-toxic, non-stick, cleaning, is it easily cleaned, heat conductivity, versatility. And obviously they're checking everything. And then for their competitors, so Teflon, non-stick, so they're calling out a brand, right? But they're also being a bit more broad and generic with the other ones, stainless steel, cast iron. They're not targeting a specific brand. They're just saying these are the other types of pots and pans you can buy, and this is how they compare. And as you can see, with with Magic Spoon's comparison table, like it's all thumbs down on the competitors. But Caraway's is a little bit more balanced, right? Some of the competitors, like, they're saying, yeah, Teflon, it is non-stick, it's easy to clean, it has good heat conductivity, but it's toxic and it's not versatile, right? So you can see that they're not just like separating themselves, like Caraway's, like everything's great and the competitors, everything's bad. They're making it a little bit balanced, but ultimately Caraway checks out as the best option. And I think this is a good way to go about it, because it shows to your customers, like, okay, it's believable, right? Like, whereas if you're saying that the other brands or the other products are just everything's bad about them, it tends to be, customers may not believe it, right? Or they may think you're biased because it's coming from the brand itself. So this is a really good way to go about it, and it's in a simple design. And I like how there's a little explanation below, like non-toxic. Like, what does non-toxic mean? It means, are the materials used in non-stick coatings safe for my family and the environment, right? It's making it a little bit more context to that point. So this is a really, really good example. And if we just go back to the document here, things to note about comparison tables: use icons instead of text. Again, Caraway's comparison table is checks and crosses, right? It's not yeses and nos, it's checks and crosses, easy to digest, which is another point here as well. It's just easy to read as well. That's why it's my personal favorite. Next up, we have video comparison, right? This is when you use a video that explains the differences between your product and the other options the customer has. It's the same as a comparison table, just in video format. So if we look at an example from Dr. Squatch here, they have a video which basically compares, like, Dr. Squatch sells soap, so they're comparing what people normally use for soap versus their soap, and they have this in a video format.
Listen up, the soap you shower with, you probably haven't even questioned what bar soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. They're still using whatever bar their mommy bought for her little man. Is that what you want? To smell like mama's little man? Ugh.
So you can see that it's a little bit more produced, and it doesn't have to be produced. It could be a simple video of a founder saying, this is our product, this is other products you have, as an option, and this is how our product is better. And this obviously is a longer video that goes through why Dr. Squatch is so great. And as I mentioned, it doesn't have to be that produced. This is just a really good example that I found from Dr. Squatch, but a simple video of someone with your product, and, like, for example, if Caraway were to do this, they could have their pan and they could have like a Teflon non-stick pan, and they can say, this is how our one's different on each of the things, right? Non-toxic, Caraway is non-toxic, this is why. Teflon is toxic, the materials you use can seep into the food, right? That's just one of the ways you can do that. And if we go to image comparison, the last one, image comparison is really a split screen image, and on one side you list the things that make your product better, and on the other side you list the things that make one other option worse, right? So typically it's focused on one other option. It's also called an us versus them image. There's only so much you can fit onto this, and I'll show you an example of what this looks like. So Avera, they sell skincare. This is how they're comparing their skincare kit against other brands. So it's very generic, right? It says 40 all-natural active ingredients, 1 to 3 active ingredients. There's not much information here, but I have seen other brands where they will list different things below their product, and they'll say, like, this is why we're better, and this is what the other brands don't do, right? So that's just an example there as well. And as I mentioned, you tend to only compare to, like, other brands, which is very generic, or one option, right? There's only so much you can fit on one of these split screen images. So those are really the 3 ways you can do comparison. As I mentioned, it's a very, very good CRO principle to use. Customers this question is going through customers' minds, so you want to be able to answer that. And my personal favorite is using comparison tables. It's what we suggest to our clients to implement, because it just makes it very, very easy for that customer to compare the other options. So that is this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.